everybody. I'm with my friend Emi Evans, the most extraordinary singer on the planet, the greatest video game voice, a voice that all of you know. Emi, it is so great to... Such a funny introduction. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you, Monka. How are you doing?
I feel so happy that we are friends. And I always think about that. I was actually literally telling somebody today about how when we met, you messaged me because your mom had sent you a video of mine.
That's right. My mom said, Emi, there's this professional opera singer who's saying nice things about your singing. And then she sent me the link to your YouTube video. And like, my mom was just so happy. And it was like your YouTube video had kind of validated me in my mom's eyes as a singer.
This is so profoundly moving and truly, truly beautiful. It's probably one of my favorite songs in the repertoire of video game music.
So of course I had to get in touch with you and say, hi, thank you. You know, my mom like put me onto you.
I was so overwhelmed though, because it was like kind of Salvation was such a... Well, it was the song that started the channel and kind of changed the trajectory of my life, which is why I melted when I met Okabe-san at the NieR concert. I was like, thank you so much. I have a new life because of this. I am excited for people to, I guess, meet you because I'm sure many people have seen you in concert and of course listen to your music, but you've been a musician your entire life. And
yeah, pretty much.
When did you find your voice? When did you decide? Because you played cello and then you played piano?
Yeah, piano, guitar, whatever was around the house, I just sort of picked up and gave it a go. Yeah, I think my first instrument was recorder at school. Oh, maybe, yeah, and I had a baby piano, like a little toy piano as well. So yeah, music's just always been part of my life. I kind of grew up in it and I didn't really get serious about it until I started playing the cello when I was 8. Then my music teachers and my parents were like, okay, Emi's going to be a cellist. So then I was practicing every day and playing at various concerts and I loved it. So cello was my main instrument. And then singing was just something I did for fun. And I sang at school choir and church choir. And then I was always walking around the house making up little songs, tidy up the room songs or, playing on my toy piano and singing along. So it was just a recreational thing, I guess. And then I think the turning point was so I was playing cello all the way until I was 18. But around the age of 16, I started getting a bit stressed out with all the practicing. And of course, this is classical cello, just having to get playing everything as the composer would have wanted it and not being able to sort of let out my creative side. So when I got fed up with my cello practice, I would just go to the piano and bash out a song and sing along to it and just sort of release everything. And then I started, because I was writing songs, so then I started recording them on just a little cassette tape. So my mum's Japanese and I was in England, I grew up in England, but my mum got these Japanese special magazines for people living in Japan. And in the magazine, she found an audition by a Japanese Sony producer who was kind of based between Tokyo and London. And he was looking for the next talento, kind of teeny bopper Japanese idol to promote. And she was like, send your demos to this address. And my mum said, oh, well, you've got a cassette full of songs that you've written, so why don't you just send that off? So I was like, okay, well, why not? And didn't think anything of it. But then I got scouted, I got chosen, and the producer came over to my house and he was like, well, you'll have to quit school. And then because of that, we were like, well, I really want to finish high school. And then the producer was like, okay, well, let's wait until you're a little bit older and your style develops. And then maybe when you're in your 20s, we can produce you as a proper artist in your own right, rather than just a little teeny bopper. Mm-hmm. So that kind of made me think, oh, maybe my voice does have, something special about it. Because up until then, I hadn't had any confidence in my voice. It was just a means to be creative with. But I found to myself, my voice sounded very weak and squeaky. And, I had much more confidence in playing cello in front of people. Singing in front of people was terrifying for me. The producer that scouted me told me, he said that the engineers in his studio were listening to my cassette and they were crying and they were being really moved. And to me, it was why? I didn't get it at all. Anyway, I thought, okay, well, maybe I do have something, I could be a singer. Yeah. And so that thought was in my head and I carried on playing my cello. I finished high school. And then when, it was time to choose, what profession to go into, I guess. I decided that I definitely did not want to be a classical cellist, and I would much rather be an interpreter like my mum. So she's a Japanese English translator interpreter, and she did really cool jobs, and she got to fly around England, which was really cool. Not fly around, but travel around England and do all these really cool jobs. And I thought, I love languages as well, because I did French and German at school, and I really loved speaking in French. So I thought, well, maybe I could be a French, Japanese, English translator interpreter when I grow up, and work together with my mom and just keep music as a hobby. So I decided to go to university to study French and Japanese. And then in my second year, I came to Tokyo as an exchange student. And then that's when everything kind of started happening again. I met the producer again. He introduced me to it was an arranger, bass player in his studio. So that's my now music partner. And he introduced us, and we just started making music together. And I was like, this is what I've always wanted to do. And then I thought, okay, so maybe now is my chance. Maybe I can become a singer in Tokyo with my own music. And then I can still carry on, learning Japanese. Yeah. That's really how it happens. I took a year out of university. They allowed me to take a year out just to kind of test the waters and see if I really could be a singer in Japan. And lots of things went wrong, and we ended up kind of separating from the producer because he wanted to go in a different direction. But me and Hiro, we just loved making our own music so much. And we were like, we're just going to stay pure to ourselves and, create the music that we want. And then I was picking up singing jobs around Tokyo, and I just sang for anything, basically. I did try to do some cello playing work as well, but it was just hard carrying my cello everywhere on crowded trains. Yeah. And there was much more demand for like a native English singer rather than, a native English cellist. So naturally, I got more work singing, and I sang at weddings, and I sang like jazz lounges. And because I already could speak French, so I learnt a lot of songs in French to sing at little French restaurants. And then I learnt songs in Portuguese and did bossa nova singing at hotel lounges as well. Sang at Disneyland, just did everything. Madonna covers at company parties.
Really? That's awesome.
And then I worked I did studio recording as well for television commercials. And then one day, just by chance, Okabe-san found the album that I'd created of my own music. So my duo is called Freescape. And just through a friend of a friend, Okabe-san heard one of our albums. And then I got a call from his secretary saying, Okabe-san's really interested in you. You want to meet up? And then that was when I think the initial project that Okabe-san was thinking of having me to sing for was Dance Revolution. And he was like, oh, actually, maybe this isn't suitable for your voice, but I will remember you for, the next project that comes up. And then the next project was NieR. So then that's how I ended up singing the NieR.
It's kind of first of all,
sorry, I've taken that's kind of my
no, it's perfect. You just answered like 5 questions that it's perfect. What I think is amazing is that a couple things. Like you and I've actually I don't think we've ever talked about some of this, but first of all, I find it really interesting that you were naturally fluid into music from a young age and plugged into it, whereas I was kind of forced. My trajectory was totally different. But I think it's interesting that sometimes when you get the bug, it just depends on how much time passes. You don't know when you're going to catch it. But I think it's so interesting that you basically came out the door ready to go in music. It was almost like it was destiny, number one. And then number two, it's amazing how by committing to yourself and by honoring your creative spirit and musical desires, essentially, with all the stuff that happened or whatever with the producer, and you and Hiro went and did your thing. And then it's amazing how all of a sudden this essentially, I was going to say NieR kind of changed your life, but really your life changed years before without even realizing it. It was this sort of this connective tissue to that moment.
Yeah. And the thing was, up until then, I still didn't really have that much confidence in my voice because I couldn't, felt like a diva or do any of the flashy stuff that a lot of the singing jobs were wanting me to do. But then after singing on NieR, because Okabe-san was like, just sing how you sung on your own original music. Just be yourself, and gave me complete artistic freedom. And so after that, any other job I got, which kind of spun off from NieR, everyone just said, just sing like Emi. So that kind of really validated my voice to myself. And that was when I felt like, oh, so maybe I can be a singer.
Yeah.
Like that really gave me confidence in myself.
I'm not jealous, but I'm certainly envious that was, for me, it was quite the opposite. It was a lot about essentially like self-suppression. And I remember I had a colleague that was like, you're paid to sing, you're not paid to think. And so much of that, I feel like I've had to try to figure out, okay, well, like, what's my place in the world? Like, how do I exist as a musician, especially in this context where, I'm more of a pundit and talking about music rather than like necessarily singing. It's amazing that you were given the opportunity to be free. I find it really interesting. It's the almost like the self-doubt was the thing that was keeping you locked up. But then the minute that someone handed you the key, opened the door, you're able to walk out and actually like step into yourself basically through singing, which is like just a miraculous story, really. I mean, like it's such beautiful. I mean, like that's like so rare. What a gift. What a gift. I'm not jealous. But it's beautiful though. Like, honestly, I know that sounds poetic, but like, it's amazing. It's the opportunity to be yourself without having to put on airs or pretend to be something else or try to modify your voice was actually what gave you the keys to your life. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah, I guess I'm just really lucky that it sort of all worked out that way. So like my work is so satisfying, and I feel like I'm able to put so much of myself into everything I do, which means that my work is even more kind of precious to me. And then of course, I naturally put lots of love into it. And then I think, the listeners can feel that as well. So it's a really happy cycle.
No, it's amazing. And I think too, what's really cool is how language, speaking of language, je m'oubliais que tu parlais le français. Je parle le français aussi.
Toi aussi, tu parles français?
Un peu, oui.
Oui, j'ai presque tout oublié. Mais...
When we were on our honeymoon, I was like forcing the French people to speak to me in French. I literally like, there were only 2 people out of like all the people that we spoke to when we were in Paris for like 3 days. And I forced every French person to speak to me in French because I just wanted to practice. And it was really, at times, very awkward. Meanwhile, my wife would be like, merci, Mary, and she would like point at something and be like, I'll have this one. And I'd be like, combien est le, whatever. But what I find interesting about your background in language, of course, is how it relates to the chaos language and this sort of fictionalization, let's say, of that. So first of all, over time, do you find that the chaos language that you sang in NieR, do those sort of have like unofficial non-canon meanings to you? Like the individual phrases or turns of vowels or the way that your consonants work? Like, do you have words for those in your brain or? No, it's just emotion. I think it's all sounds that are linked to emotion, but there's no actual, this word means, this phrase means this or nothing like that at all. And the whole song is in itself will be like the feeling of this is a lullaby. I want people who listen to this to just feel soothed. Or like this song is my own kind of my cathartic way to express my feeling of helplessness or like anything. And so often it's not the same every time I sing. When I'm recording in the studio, of course, the song is still quite fresh to me. I'm sort of feeling my way around just how can I make these words, these sounds as beautiful sounding to fit the melody. How can I sing this melody and these words in the most beautiful way is kind of what I'm focusing on, I guess. When I'm performing, it's more like all the emotions that I've kind of gathered and accumulated throughout my whole life. Everything just comes out on stage when I perform. It's just all released. Each person in the audience has their own individual way to catch the emotion that I'm putting out. It's quite vulnerable though, isn't it? To release all of that into the ethos.
If I was singing in English, I think, and the words had meaning, then I think it would be very vulnerable and I'd feel like I was exposing everything. But as the lyrics are all chaos, then I feel like there's no limit to what I can put out.
It's almost like a protective barrier, but it's like a thin sheet you can still like see through, but it allows you to freely express without the, yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I understand this, but like, how do you sustain an emotional state for like 3 minutes at a time, especially with chaos language, when you're expressing let's say grief or sadness or reflecting on a loved one? How do you express that sort of like feeling for over an extended 3 minutes,
Well, I think once the music starts playing, because all these songs, remember, when I'm performing, I've had, months to practice and get to really feel the songs, and kind of become part of the song. The song becomes part of me. So when I perform on stage, I just kind of go into a trance. So I'm not kind of consciously thinking I have to sustain this particular emotion. I just feel it and it comes out, and it's just very natural process for me.
I had a teacher who used to call that go mode, where you like push a button. And not everybody has that, where you're able to just go boop, and then you're in. It's almost like because in a way, it kind of feels like you become a conduit, right? Like it frees. It's almost like Emi is. Do you feel like Emi's there, or do you feel like it's just like raw, sort of emotional being? Is this too heady? I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm just trying to think. Okay, a bit of Emi is there, but most of it is lost in like this beautiful kind of raw emotional trance, as it were.
Yeah, I love that. Because I only say that because I remember distinctly, like there would be times where I would, in performance, all of a sudden the swirl, and you imbue yourself, and then that part of you is there, and then the other part of you is not there. And I know it's like kind of like heady and maybe doesn't make sense, but I think like when you're swimming in emotion, it's such an interesting feeling, especially when you're making sure that emotion carries over the lip of the stage and it reaches people, because you can't really be guarded, really, because it requires honesty. When you sat down to like sort of create the structure of the chaos language, were you given guidance, or was it kind of just like a free flow for you? Like, ooh, this sounds really interesting. Were you making it up on the spot, or were you like actively like writing things down? Like how was that process? Because I would know the first thing about learning a fictional language and making it up, learning it and creating it.
Well, at first I was pretty clueless as well, and I felt like I didn't really know what I was doing. So the very first song that I recorded for NieR and wrote lyrics for was Song of the Ancients. So Yoko Taro-san had specifically said that he wanted like lots of vocal songs, and he wanted them all to be in made-up languages with no meaning. Right. So the first attempt was Song of the Ancients, and I just gathered all the like the languages that I'd ever been exposed to, and just sort of lumped them all together. So there's a mixture of so many different languages in Song of the Ancients. Right. And then when I was told I have to, do multiple songs, all in similar, like in made-up languages, but different sounding languages, I realized that this method of just moshing everything I knew together wouldn't work, because everything would just kind of end up sounding the same. So then when I told Okabe-san about like my concerns, and he said, well, how about we base each song on a specific language, and then you just imagine how that language evolved in like a zillion years. So then each song would have a different kind of sound to it. So then that made it so much easier. So then for each song for NieR, NieR Replicant, the first NieR, Okabe-san actually gave me a language to match each song with. So for example, Grandma is based on French, Kaine is based on Gaelic, and etc. So I just kind of researched that language, and then picked out the sounds which I felt were very specific to that language. And I listened to like YouTube videos and YouTube pronunciation lessons. And then I just had a piece of paper and just wrote down all the sounds phonetically as I was hearing them. And then I just kind of mixed them all together and then arranged them on the melody, and, just carried on trying it out and sort of adjusting. And then once I'd got all the lyrics fixed, then I would go back onto the YouTube videos and check the pronunciation was authentic. And that's basically what I did for each song. And then for Automata, because I had, at first with the first NieR, I didn't really know how my songs would be received by by the listeners and whether they'd think, I don't know, like they'd be really annoyed, like really mad that I was kind of butchering their language. When I got all this positive reception, I thought, oh, okay, so I am onto a good thing. And that made me more confident to kind of be even, because I love languages so much and, researching languages that I don't know as well. So it gave me confidence to kind of be more nerdy and research even more, like wacky languages or and dying out languages as well. So when NieR Automata came up, the first song that I was asked to write lyrics for was my version of Weight of the World, and I'd already gathered words from a dying out language called Chamikuro, and I was thinking, if there is another NieR project, I'm going to use this dying out language and like preserve it forever in a NieR song. So my version of Weight of the World contains like real phrases and words from the Chamikuro language. And after that was released, the actual the language actually died out, like the last native speaker passed away, so it's really sad, but the language still remains in Weight of the World, Emi Evans version. So that was one of the songs, so that was just kind of my decision. I wanted to do that. And then all the other songs for NieR Automata, I just listened for the melody and I thought, okay, this requires like a beautiful, gentle, sad sounding language. And then I would just Google beautiful sounding sad languages, and then it would give me, I would just research the languages that it suggested. And then I was like, okay, this one. For this language, this song, and that's how I chose.
But you do realize that requires like a huge brain, right? Like that's really hard. Like that's not like a normal thing that someone can just do.
Really? Because I was thinking, like the whole time, I was like, this is something that anyone could do, but only somebody as nerdy as me would like think to do it. So I just had so much fun. Today I'm going to research Bulgarian.
But that's insane though, because I didn't know about your mom and the the translation work. That's insane. Like that's actually amazing that you went to school, to start that process, and then you ended up doing it. The wires that connect in your life for this are actually astounding. I know that life is not like left to right. There's all these bumps in the road, right? But it's actually amazing how the things that you grew up with that intersected in your, young adulthood, childhood, 20s, what have you, and then into like this project, like that's like it's actually shocking. Because I just think that's so beautiful. Like, sorry, I don't mean to like praise you endlessly, but we're friends, so I'm allowed to. But it's amazing. Like that is actually crazy, because that's actually, I suppose for me, it was like, I grew up speaking Italian. I never appreciated it. And then it wasn't until I went in to become an opera singer that I was like, oh wait, no, I have this special, wonderful, beautiful skill of speaking a second language that I took completely for granted. And so then it was like, oh, well, I'm a natural Italian speaker. This is actually a commodity in opera in the American system. Oh, okay. And then, so I guess that was an example of, those dots. It's amazing. I mean, this is a silly question, but did you think like these dots would connect the way that you have?
Not at all.
Right.
And yeah, looking back now, I'm like, oh, everything that I did kind of was worthwhile, and it has connected. And I'm just really glad that I kind of followed my heart, I guess. And, because I quit university in the end, because I was like, okay, I'm just going to drop out of university, not go back to England. I'm going to stay in Japan and just carry on doing my music. Right. So, and then, unfortunately, I haven't really touched my cello in years. So I'm kind of a little bit sad about that. But all those years practicing my cello, that as well has not gone to waste. And I feel like my cello is still alive in my voice, as it were. Because one thing with playing the cello is like, for me, I was like, kind of use your whole body to bring out the most beautiful sound you can on your cello. You're kind of like milking and massaging out the most beautiful tones you can make. So in a way, I feel like with my voice as well, I'm always like experimenting just with, the different spaces in my head to kind of bring out the most beautiful, like pleasing sounds.
Yeah.
And that sort of happens naturally just from playing the cello. So yeah, I do feel like nothing has really been wasted and everything's connected.
Well, and I mean, that's such like a beautiful statement. I think that's super true because I mean, the things that make us, I mean, even again, to compare it to myself, it's like, had I not been an opera singer, I probably wouldn't have even had this YouTube channel. You know what I mean? So like, I can't say that 14 years of singing and performing and trying to make it or hustling or whatever was wasted because like, there was a period of my life where I was like, well, what skills do I have? I still don't really know. But, you know, at the very least, like now I get to do this and it's still like, you know, how do we connect to the emotional spirit of the music that we listen to? How do we as listeners, I have this thing, actually, you know, I'm actually curious about your perspective because being that you know, have studied cello and studied music outside of singing and stuff, like how much do you think about technique or theory when you're not only with freescape, but also for yourself? Like, is it really ultimately about like the melody and the free flow and the emotional aspects? Or are you thinking about, well, you know, as I ascend here, I have to make sure that, you know, the G sharp is right, or, you know, do I want to have a breathy tone here? Well, that's more of a technique thing, but still, like, how often are you sort of balancing these two things, if at all? Is it all intrinsic? Like, is it all just emotional intelligence? You know, emotional softness, emotional insight?
When I'm singing, it's generally just kind of feeling and emotion. But I do know, especially when it's songs that I've been singing, you know, I've sung several times. I know that in certain parts, I need to like have a bit more like sound breath control, or I know where I need to like be careful technically. But otherwise, so it's just like, so it's mostly just emotion and feeling. And then in like a few places, I will just, you know, think, technique. Yeah, or like, I know this note that, you know, I tend to go a bit flat, especially when, or, you know, this note, when I get excited, I go a bit sharp. So just like stay calm. And
oh my God, sharp and flat is such, oh God, I used to go sharp all the time because you just like tuck a little too much, you press a little too much, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, that's a whole other note I didn't mean to hit. Did I ever tell you my City Ruins story?
I don't think you did.
When I was in opera school, so on the PlayStation 4, there was a wallpaper that you could put on that was NieR related, and it was City Ruins, the first one. You know, oh my God, I love that song so much. I remember I didn't realize that it was in a fictional language the entire time. And I had that thing for like a year, and I was like, what are these? What are they? What is being said? And I literally, I would sing it and I'd be like, something's wrong with me because I know it's in English or whatever, but I cannot understand the words. And then coming to find out that it was a totally, you know, chaos language. And I was like, oh, so I wasn't the problem. I just couldn't, but that soundtrack literally got me through like a really, really, really difficult program when I was in Philadelphia. So I don't think I ever told you that, but thank you for being the soundtrack of my piece.
Wow. Well, I'm really glad that I could help.
Is there a song that you think, of all the songs that you've sung, I guess really in your career, in video game space, like, is there a song that really speaks to you even now, that you like sort of look back on and you're like, that was a good one?
I think Kanye does have a very special place in my heart. Just because it was one of the first songs that I recorded. And of course, it's beautiful as well. And this is the song which I performed the most. And I performed it on stage when like both my kids were like, you know, inside my tummy. I went on stage and sang Keiichi, and that's their favorite lullaby as well, like when they were very, very little. And even now, sometimes, like if my son's feeling like a little bit like down or something, he'll be like, "Mommy, sing Keiichi." So yeah, I think that definitely has a special place in my heart. And also, Keiichi is the one song that I can sing no matter what condition my voice is in. Like it just comes out so easily and naturally. And I feel like Kaine it sort of symbolizes my whole life as a singer. And whenever I sing Kaine to myself, it's like if I'm feeling a bit like rubbish, like, I don't know, I forgot to put the kids' like sports kit in their school bag, or, you know, I forgot to do something and I'm just like, oh God, I suck. And then if I sing Kaine to myself, I'm like, oh, it's okay. Like, you know, like it's sort of my redemption song to myself. And I'm like, okay, just carry on. You know, it's always worthwhile just like trying my best, and, you know, we can get through this. So yeah, Kaine does have a very special meaning to me. And I love that the fans love it too.
Yes. I mean, I feel like it's such an emblematic piece for NieR, and you know what I find really interesting about Kaine especially is that it really is like the evolution of art song to me. Like, you know, like Schubert or Strauss or any of these folks, like the strophic nature of it, the repetition, the, you know, the way that it changes, the way that it stays the same. It's so modern and unique, even though it has like, it carries traditions from, you know, hundreds of years. Yeah, that's amazing. That's kind of your favorite. Let's talk about freescape. So freescape, okay. Yes. So freescape is your baby. I mean, like, this is been with
absolutely.
You for years now.
Yeah, over 20 years now.
Wow.
So this is my absolute passion, and that's what kind of made me stay in Japan. And basically, yeah, it's like such a huge cathartic and important part of my life. And all the time I'm writing my new songs.
Is there a part of that feels the most freeing for you? Is it the writing? Is it the performing? Is it kind of all of it? Is it just like the fact that that's this like thing that's been sort of next to you and kind of grown with you, you know, like changed with you, like it's always been there? Like, what's for you, what is it about freescape and your that creative outlet that allows you to feel, I guess, most free?
Well, I think everything about it, the fact that it's just always been there, and, you know, it's kind of changed my life and set me back on the path of music again. Yeah. I love also the creative process, because I'm working with Hiro, who we've been working together and creating together for years. And it's just so much fun kind of bouncing creative ideas off each other and seeing the ideas evolve. And it's also really fun watching a song just kind of like evolve all by itself almost. It's like creative magic happens all the time. And even when we've got the song and we're like, okay, let's record it, then in the studio as I'm recording, you know, new ideas will come up, and then the song grows. And so it's like there's always this kind of creative magic happening, and that really, really makes me buzz. And then once you've got the song finished and you listen to it, and then it's almost like you get this high feeling from listening to it and then thinking, wow, we created this. And then it's like, wouldn't it be wonderful if we could just like, everyone who heard our music could just feel as high and as happy as we do listening to it. So it's just like it's an ongoing, wonderful creative magic process, which we just want to share with as many people as possible.
Yeah, 1000%. I mean, like, I actually don't really know what that's like to make music and to sort of like give something away, you know? That must be such an uplifting feeling.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's what kind of keeps me alive. In a way.
Yeah, the feeling of giving and the feeling of the creative expression, and yeah.
Right. Yes. Just knowing that I always have this creative outlet.
Is there a particular track in all the years that you've worked with Hiro that like for freescape that feels like it stands out to you? Because if it's ever evolving, it's like, is the older stuff as meaningful as the newer stuff, or do you feel like because things are more refined, because your collaboration gets deeper? Are there songs from maybe the beginning of freescape and then the middle and then the end that kind of stick out to you? I'd love to feature these also if we have them, or have a way to get them.
So the first album we recorded when I think I was like about 23 or 22, and my voice was still kind of like high and squeaky, and this was before, like, you know, I had met Okabe-san and felt actually confident in my voice. So the songs I think are really great. I think one song which stands out to me, because I actually wrote the song when I was 16, and that was one of the songs which, you know, I heard in the studio, at the producer studio, and decided to start arranging it, and that's kind of how we met. So that song is called Little Miss Emily. Don't you think there's a hitch? Funny the way that things turn out, and I would die to this misery. The parents that that's on like the very first album. But we've decided actually we're going to re-record the whole of the first album because we love the songs, and I just want to sing it with my voice as it is now rather than like squeaky. So that's one song which kind of is a life-changing, a really important song for me. And then I guess from the middle era of freescape, there's a song called Anchor Song, which is very special to me. And I think just because it was like, I think that's the most cathartic piece of music that I've written. And it was just purely kind of for myself.
I wasted my time fighting ghosts that weren't really there. And all there is to be forgiven has already been pardoned. These sorries hold no substance.
I always just feel really great when I sing it, and I just feel that everything is going to be okay. And also, it's the opening lyrics are from a poem that my dad wrote for me when I was in my teens, which I really loved. When I was a little child, all alone, the only one, I used to play where music grew. And I'm just like, that's so, that just like, that sums up me. And so that's included in the song. So I just feel like it's a very, very personal song to me, and also very, very uplifting and cathartic as well. So that's definitely a favorite track.
Amazing. And then what about like in the last couple of years?
The latest album that we've released, that was released this year in January. And this was like Hiro discovered pure intonation, which is, so the tuning is slightly different to the regular like orchestra, like your regular pop songs intonation. So the scale, the intervals between each note is very, very slightly different. And so it's supposed to be more in tune with the human body, like the frequency. It's supposed to have sort of healing qualities. So my partner, Hiro, got really into this. So he was like, let's make an album all in pure intonation. So I had to kind of adjust the pitch of my singing as well to record this. That it is very, very relaxing. And it took ages to edit anything because whenever I listened to my vocals, just trying to focus and yeah, exactly, I would fall asleep each time. So it took like such a long time to finish everything. But the end result, I'm so happy with. And yeah, it's just incredibly soothing, and it really does seem to touch deep for like the hardcore freescape fans who listen to it as well. So that's something that we're really like, oh, this is a really cool discovery. And so I think, although it takes ages and it's much harder to sing in, I think we're going to create a lot more songs using this pure intonation.
Well, it goes to show that like you're never done, right? It's both like probably frustrating and beautiful that like there's always this continuation. There's always this like ongoing self-discovery, and surely even tying it back to NieR, like you never feel like you've arrived at the most perfect version of whatever song, whether it's freescape or any song you're singing for like an album or a game, right?
Every so often I will feel like one bit of that song was like absolutely perfect and how I'd always wanted it to be, and then I get goosebumps in that little section, and then the rest is kind of like normal again. Wow, but I felt it that moment, and then that makes me kind of strive to get that moment of like perfection again.
Do you feel that way with the freescape songs too? Like where you're always kind of reaching a new height, and you never quite know what that peak is? Yeah,
and it's also very unexpected as well.
Yeah.
It's just something that just happens, I guess, and not like consciously made to happen.
Yeah, I think like that's the beauty of showing up every day, and like you said, I mean, you're always thinking about freescape and writing and creating, and I think like that's really the discipline aspect of music that I think sometimes it's easy to miss, right? Because we don't necessarily think about it, but like discipline is everything, and like showing up every day, no matter what responsibilities you're carrying, and being like, okay, well, today I'm going to do 10 bars, or I'm going to write 3 pages, or I'm going to whatever anyone's this artistic pursuits.
That's right. Yeah, I think always like feeling hungry for something more and something new is a really important and essential thing that you need to just keep on searching and looking at. Yeah, so I do feel like the creative process is like you say, it's never ending.
There's an amazing quote that says, you can't be hungry if you're already fed. And I find that that's very inspiring, because it's like, well, it's true. I mean, like when you're pursuing, especially with music, and maybe this is like hoity-toity, but there is this degree of like the expression of the soul and the expression of the self. And that expression never really ends, even when you've arrived at whatever. I mean, because I mean, what's amazing to me with your career, Emi, is that like you're working, like you're busy. Like, yes, you've created this incredible repertoire, and you have a vast repertoire. And now with these incredible concerts, which if you folks haven't seen these NieR concerts, like you must, like it's a whole story with incredible, just the whole thing. I mean, it's incredible stuff, especially even if you're not a NieR fan, you should probably go, just because they're really, really well done. But like the work never stops. And I mean, you have not peaked, which is incredible, because you know, you've done so much, and yet there's still so much to do. I mean, does it feel like that for you? Like you're like, okay, well, what's next?
Yeah, always. I'm saying, what happens next, and what shall I dream for next?
Right.
Because like before, it was like I really, so at the beginning of every year, I write a list of my dreams and my wishes for that year. And so this year, I was like, oh yeah, so to perform at Carnegie Hall, to sing at an arena, to do something with Soul Care, who I'm a huge fan of. We sang 2 shows at Carnegie Hall in January, and then next week we're going to be performing at an arena for the first time, doing NieR, and Soul Care's going to be there, and that's like pretty cool. I'm like, oh, it can be, it is possible. So just keep on dreaming bigger, wishing bigger. What's next? And sometimes I don't even know what I ought to wish for next, or like aim for next. But I mean, I think definitely, okay, so NieR is, a huge part of my life, and I love it dearly, but there's also so much more out there. And I feel like, I want to kind of just meet more artists and more composers, and like spread Eminess across the world in, I mean, and at the same time, be there for my kids, and trying to be as, lead a grounded, balanced life as well. So I think that's the hardest challenge for me, is just balancing the two together, and like, being able to switch from one to the other. Absolutely.
I mean, that balance is always
it's like, a never ending growing process.
Yeah, you never really arrive, which is beautiful, and I think like that's a very good note to end on. And I, thank you, Emi, of course, for coming here and having a chat with me, and thank you everybody for watching this. It's
Thank you.
I meant maybe it was a little cringe earlier, but I really, Emi, you've become a very important person to me, and I'm so grateful that you wanted to take the time to chat with all these wonderful folks that are watching. And it's a privilege and honor to anyway, I'm not going to be cringe, but anyway, I appreciate you.
Yeah, I'm so glad that we've managed to actually finally get an interview sorted, because it's something we've been talking about for like literally years, right? And we've ended up just like chatting.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so I'm really happy to have been able to do this interview, and like hopefully, more of your fans will know about me as well, and check out music from NieR and freescape as well.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, everybody. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.